Susan Alexander is a sixth grade language arts teacher here at Berkeley. She'll be talking today about beach ball thinking.
How many of you can remember a time when you were at a football game or a concert and you watched a beach ball make its way through the crowd? All right, good. More on that later. Now, how many of you can remember a time when you were in class and you raised your hand to answer a question, and as soon as you were finished speaking, you knew you had given an incorrect answer? Yeah, me too, lots of times. 11th grade, we were reading Shakespeare's Scottish play aloud, and I was reading one of the parts of The Witches, and as soon as I had finished, I knew I'd done it incorrectly. And then my teacher said, in front of everyone, "Well, it's a good thing you don't plan to become an actor." Now, in defense of that teacher, we are both products of 20th century education, a model that was built on the steel girders of the industrial age. And I can remember thinking, there are lots of correct answers to things. I just don't know them yet. But of course, that's not the age we're living in now. And we are all pioneers through this new age. Those of us in education know we don't have all the answers. We're not even sure about the questions. So, what should our role be? Well, we can't afford to avoid this basic question just because we don't know the answer. It can feel overwhelming. But I think that there is something we can learn from another community of practice, the performing arts, a community that thrives on not knowing the answers. So, remember that teacher I told you about, the one that said I couldn't act? Well, because of her or in spite of her, who knows, I became an actor. And when I started acting training or performance training, I was more than a little bit upset that it wasn't about the correct answers. Nothing I had learned in my 20th century education prepared me for that kind of training. And I struggled to figure out what it was my drama teacher wanted. I followed instructions. I crafted plans. I diligently executed them. And still, the best I would get was well, let's see that again next week. And this went on and on forever until one day I finally just quit trying to figure it out. And she said, "That's it." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I had no idea what that was. And it would be a really long time before I realized that was simply the relinquishment of control of the creative journey and its destination. Now, in the arts, we were taught to come prepared, but let go of all outcomes. We were also taught that failure is an essential part of mastery, and we had to be brave enough to do it. It's an arts mantra: dare to fail in order to fly. And when I moved into arts management and production, these same principles applied. When we would gather to talk out a unified production concept, it was almost a badge of honor to be the person to have the first really bad idea, throw it out there. And because we knew that that bad idea would lead us to the good idea that we would all collectively shape. And this idea, these basic principles, relinquish control, dare to fail, have informed and guided many in many different fields. So I was so excited when I moved from the arts into education, and I was going to take what I had learned about the creative process and meld it with what I was learning about education and throw it into my sixth grade classroom with all my sixth grade students, which are the most incredible beings in the world, and it was all just going to be great. And so it was great. And we have business leaders telling us, send us more creative people. We need more creative people. So it was a perfect match. Until it wasn't. Because, for some strange reason, all of my enthusiasm would just drain away whenever I went into educational planning meetings with adults. Suddenly, my old 20th century behaviors would emerge. I would be afraid to raise my hand for fear that I would look foolish or misinformed or underinformed. Or worst of all, I would have an idea and I would just squirrel it away. the thing is, I know better than to behave this way. We're talking about 21st century education, and I'm a teacher. I'm responsible for nurturing students. They know I don't have all the answers. And what was right yesterday is not necessarily right today. It's not about teaching the facts. It's about helping them find the courage to think and share their ideas. And if I'm not willing to model that, how can I expect them to? I was reminded of this recently when I saw one of our 8th graders share his ideas in front of 350 of his closest friends. He was doing his This I Believe speech for our 8th grade assembly. It's a requirement for 8th grade graduation. And he talked about the power of stories and how they can be amazing ways to spread information, but how they can also breed hatred and fear among people and cause nations to harm millions of innocent victims. He called these kinds of stories misinformers, and he urged his peers to stay far away from them because they turned people into evil hatred zombies. He went on to talk about how words can heal, too. And as he said it, words can revive a being from a position of perpetual sadness. They might even save a life. Our children understand the world and its problems more than we might realize. And they deserve our everything. Our healing words that we might stumble over, our horrible ideas that lead us towards something better. We cannot squirrel any of it away. They know we don't have the answers to the world's problems. But what we can do for them is we can model the creative process. We can dare to fail in order to fly. But how do we do this? Well, I think it helps to intentionally set safe places for exploration. Recently, I was on a curriculum design team here at Berkeley, led by Kim Lawless, whom you heard from earlier. And Kim did some things to intentionally set this safe space. She played music when we came in. She shared inspirational videos that got us thinking and talking. And she shared her own successes and failures. There was a lightness in the room, and we laughed a lot. So, it was not at all unlike that creative 6th grade classroom. And it was with adults, too. But what if we don't have that kind of environment? How can we create it for ourselves, in our jobs and in our lives? I was pondering this when I was in the pool with my daughter and we were batting a beach ball around. And I had an idea, possibly a really bad one. Let's go back to that concert we were talking about at the beginning. Okay, so imagine you're there, you're in the nosebleed seats, and something colorful whizzes by your head, and you watch it as it bounces down to the level below you, and it hits some lady in the head, and she turns around, laughing, and her neighbor picks up the ball, and he bops it farther down the way, and you watch it as it goes down, 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 and then it starts coming back up, up. No one knows where that beach ball came from. No one knows where it's going, but everyone is pretty invested in its journey. The beach ball is all of our ideas, dreadful to brilliant. It belongs to no one, and it belongs to everyone. So, the next time you have an idea, I hope you'll think about that ball and pick it up and hit it in the air. And if it falls on the ground, so what? And if you see one on the ground, pick it up and bop it around for a little while because you never know where it might go. Our children have big tasks ahead of them, and they deserve nothing less than us bouncing around what we fear might be our very worst ideas. This could be my worst idea yet. But I'm going to trust that there's somebody out there who's going to take this idea and turn it into something better. Thank you.